All right, guys, welcome to day 2 of boot camp in KW Command. My name is Monica Perry. I'm your Market Center Tech Trainer in the Winston-Salem and Greensboro KW1 Market Centers. And I just wanted to start off today's class by letting you know on my website, kwtriadtech.com, over here on the left-hand side, I've now added the link to January 2022 boot camp videos, so you can come over here and click this button and it will take you straight to the YouTube playlist for this week's videos. So if you need to go back, it says it's deleted because it's uploading. But if you need to go back and rewatch anything, probably specifically today's class, that is a good way to do it. And does anybody have any questions before we get started looking at opportunities in Docusign? Everybody good? I will tell you, I know Greensboro that you guys, some of you use Dotloop. If you're a Greensboro agent and you need to know about Dotloop after Docusign is over, if you want to hang back after questions, it works the same way. It's just that you're going to choose Dotloop instead of Docusign. So if you have any questions, please feel free to hang back and ask me after the fact. But otherwise, we're going to get started. So where we're going to start today is twofold. Opportunities applet and command has a lot of stuff it does other than getting form signed. So we're going to kind of walk through what's in the opportunity section, what you can use it for in your business, how you can set up some checklists that are going to make your life easier, and client updates that you can send over to your clients. We're going to walk through the applet itself, and then we'll take a small break. And the second part, we're going to actually complete some documents so that you guys can see how that flows. Okay, just so you know kind of what we're doing. All right, so agent.kw.com is where we are going to log into KW Command with our KW credentials. Okay. And I want to let this load. I want to remind you that if you're going to do an opportunity in command, you have to first add the contact to command. So that is your first step. Okay. But for now, we're going to go ahead and go into the opportunities, which is this handshake over here on the left. If you're like, I don't know what all these icons mean, you can hover to see what they're called. You can also click on the white KW on the red background and pop those out so that you can see what they look like and which one is which. Opportunities is another word for transaction. It is an opportunity for you to have a transaction. Okay, so we're going to go into opportunities. Okay, so if you are on a team, okay, like I have a team set up in command. I see my team here, and I also see my individual agent pipeline here. Now, depending upon how your Rainmaker has your account set up, if they have it set up where you cannot make an opportunity on your individual agent pipeline, you will only see your team name, all opportunities, and all discussions. If you're an individual agent, you will not see a team name. You will see your name, all opportunities, and you will not see discussions because discussions are for teams to discuss about transactions. Okay, so first off, that's the top of your screen. So I wanted to make sure you know what you should be seeing. And productivity coaching is included in teams. It is just a large team, even though you're not really on a team, right? That's just the way it's set up in the system so that your productivity coach can help you out along the way, check on your documents for you and that kind of stuff. So any questions about that piece, what you should be seeing at the top? Pretty good? Great. Okay. So I'm going to do my individual agent pipeline for today. Okay. So the green pipeline is your listings. And you can see that we have 5 phases across our listings and our buyers. These are unchanging. The 5 phases are the same for every agent in the whole Keller Williams family. Cultivate, that means you're getting ready to buy, they're getting ready to sell, maybe they're working on credit, maybe they have to do some updates to the house. Maybe they said, yes, I do want to buy a house, but it's going to be 6 months. That's kind of the cultivating period. They're getting ready to take action. Appointment, obviously, you're setting up your appointment, whether it's your listing or your buyer consultation, and keeping that appointment and hopefully getting those agreements signed. Active, they've become an active client. Either you're actively listing the property, putting that into the MLS, or if it's a buyer, you've got a signed buyer agency agreement. You guys are taking off to go look at homes. Under contract, obviously, once you go under contract, either on your listing or your buyer, and then when it closes. So the phases are unchanging. However, within each phase are stages, and that is your opportunity as you grow in your business to determine, what do I want this to look like? So I'm going to go ahead and expand. I'm just going to start at the beginning with cultivate on listings. Okay. So if I click the little icon, then here are my personalized stages of my cultivate listing phase. Yours don't have to be the same as mine. Okay. Now I'm going to take a moment to drop something in the chat for you. And that way you can reference this as we dive in a little bit deeper. Shout out to George Kelly, who is another celebrity that I love, super successful agent. He shared this spreadsheet with us, and I went through and made it North Carolina ready, because not every state operates the same way. So I'm dropping the link for this spreadsheet. This will make more sense to you as we work our way in. Now, I want to be clear, you do not have to set up these checklists. They are simply made to help you not drop the ball on the multiple things that need to be done for a listing and for a buyer. So you do not have to go through and set these up. If you're on a team, your rainmaker or your admin would have set it up. If you're in PC coaching in Winston-Salem specifically, I'm pretty sure that your productivity coach, Keon, has set up your checklist for you. So you won't have to do this part. However, it's good for you to see it for when you become an individual agent. If you're an individual agent, this is a great way for you to keep a check on yourself. Okay. So now that I'm in Cultivate, you'll see I have first met, I'm nurturing them, they're getting ready to sell. If I come into the upper right corner, I can click Edit Stages. And here are my checklists. So for first met, I have this checklist. I need to get their phone number and add it to command. I need to get their email and add it to command. I need to friend them on social media, right? And be following them. I need to add either their current address or their desired location. If it's a seller, maybe you're helping them sell their home and purchase. So you need to know where those are. Okay. Drive by and grab front exterior of the house just with your cell phone. So if you're doing your listing presentation, you have a current photo. And you can go ahead and put them on a monthly neighborhood nurture for their current neighborhood. Right. So these are just the things that I added to my checklist. You can either choose to add to your checklist or you can choose not to set up your checklist. It's completely up to you. We are independent contractors. I just want to show you what is available for you. Okay. So these checklists are really, I'm going to go back into Edit Stages and go to Nurture. I've got an additional set of checklists ready to sell, an additional set of checklists of items that I need to do. I do have a class that says I have a listing now what, and I have a buyer now what. And those are very, pardon me, I'm still getting over COVID. I think I have lingering symptoms here. But I do teach those 2 classes. I will probably teach them both in February, and there are recorded versions on my YouTube channel. We have to handle a lot with transactions, right? We're showing property, we're making appointments, we're giving feedback to agents. If it's our listing, we have to put the sign out, we have to put the lockbox on, we have to make our listing booklets for the property. You know, we have to give the feedback to the sellers from the agents that are showing the property. There's just so many things that we have to do for each transaction. And as an agent previously, as a selling agent previously, I know the woes of that, and I have to have a checklist. Now, if you were a paper checklist person, there is absolutely nothing wrong with being a paper checklist person, right? I used to have a paper checklist that stuck on top of my file, and I checked stuff off as I went through. This just gives you the opportunity to do it digitally and have it tied in with your transaction. So if you're like, did I order those seller documents for that house? You can go back in and check your checklist and see if you checked it off, right? So I just want to show you guys how you can use this. You can add stages if you need another stage for your specific business. Maybe you do real staging. I have an agent in Winston-Salem that does staging with furniture. It's a secondary business for her. So she may need another section to make sure that she's doing all of those things. So you can really curate this to your liking. So obviously the most stuff happens when something is active and under contract. So if I look at active for listing and edit stages, then I have a lot going on. I got to get the photos done. I got to put the sign out. If I'm doing a home warranty, I need to do that. Put the lockbox out, get the photographer out there, create their marketing materials, right? So I can add all of these things, and then I can check these client update boxes. So let's talk about that. Okay. One of the biggest complaints that consumers have about their agent is lack of communication, right? I don't know what's going on with my listing. I'm not sure what the next step is in purchasing my home because my agent's not communicating with me. Okay. If you're using client updates and you have your checklist set up with client update checked off, okay, I'm going to show you how this works. Right here, client updates. This little gear takes you into the settings. Okay. And once we're back here, we can choose, if you're on a team, you'll have both choices there. When do I want my email to go out? Okay. So if I have an opportunity, I have client updates turned on in the opportunity. I have my checklist set up. If I go through and check something off that day that is set to be a client update, at what time do I want my email to go out to my client to say, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Seller, these are the things we did for your listing today. So that is what you are setting a time for here. When it says, do you want to send it from the owner? If you're an individual, that's your only choice. If you're on a team, it can come from the rainmaker, or it can come from the agent that's actually working the transaction. You can choose for it to go to the client and the co-client if they both have a separate email address, or only to your primary client. Okay. You can also send it to yourself if you want to make sure that it goes out. And the preview of the template looks like this. So, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, we're checking things off the list. Here's a summary of tasks of things we have done for 123 Main Street, right? If it is your listing and it's active in the MLS, the system will have a photo of the listing, and it will show up here. It will show them what you checked off today, and it will send out that email that is branded to you like so. Okay. If it is a buyer, there will not be an image. There will just be, we got your home inspection done. We received back your home inspection report. It'll just show them what you did that day. No image. Okay. Again, don't have to use this, but it is an underutilized feature, and it is one that clients love. It's one that agents that have been in the business for a long time love. There's a system that you can pay for that its main function to begin with was to do this. Give you checklists, let you check them off, notify the client of what you did, right? And so let me pull up, bear with me one sec, I'm on my other screen here. I'm going to pull up something for you so you can see it. Here we go. All right. So this is where I actually set up an opportunity and use the active listing and then check something off so that you guys can see this is what an actual email would look like. Hey, Mr. Seller, we're checking things off the list. Here's a summary of tasks completed for your house. We scheduled your broker wine and cheese event from me. Okay, so that's what it would actually look like. So let's go back to opportunities. So just remember, in order to use this, you need to have your checklist set up. You need to have some of the checklist items set to be client updates. And then you actually have to check the things off the list. Okay. So I'm going to open up an active listing right here. Okay. It says my client updates are turned on. That's what I need. Need them to be turned on. Oops. Hold on. I hit the wrong button. My bad. Let's go back. Here's the client updates button. You need to either turn that off or on. It's going to default to what time you set in the back end in that settings. But say this person works second shift, and so they want their email to come at a different time, you can change it within the specific opportunity. Okay. You can also add an additional contact. So maybe it's, some seniors that are selling their house to move down to downsize, and their son is helping them out, and you want their son to get updated when things are happening, then you would have the option to add their son so that he can get the emails as well. Okay. So again, you have to have a checklist set up, client updates checked, client updates turned on, and then you have to actually check the things off of the list. So up here, you can see I have 10 of 14 things checked off. And so maybe today, they don't need to know I sent a copy of receipt of monies to the agent, or that I uploaded it into Command. But if they, need to know this, then I can check that off, and that will generate that email. Okay. So checklists are cool. They can be very useful. I just want to make sure you guys are aware that they're there. And I want to show you one more thing. Let me find one that I don't have a lot checked off on. Go with this one. A lot of people ask me, how can I set up dates? I want this to tell me to do this on this date, right? We cannot do that in the overall setting up of checklist. Once you have an actual opportunity, though, if I need to be reminded to do this, I can come over and set the due date. I need to do this tomorrow at 10 a.m. Now I'm going to get a task both in Command Desktop and Command App that tell me tomorrow at 10 a.m. I need to go in and do this specific task, right? So that is how you can set up your date specific tasks related to your opportunities. Cool. Any questions on this? You have that checklist that I dropped in the chat for you. You're going to customize those to your liking as you build your business anyway. And again, you don't have to use checklists. I just wanted to make sure that you guys know that they exist because they can save you a lot of heartache if you remind yourself all the things that you need to do. Everybody good? Going once, going twice. Cool deal. Okay, so that's checklist. Okay, import is if you're using .loop. So if you're a DocuSign user, Winston-Salem, all agents are DocuSign for the most part. Handful of you are using .loop. Greensboro, you're kind of half and half. You're a mixed bag. So importing loops is only for if you're using .loop, just so you know what that button is for. Okay. Now, your pipelines. The whole point of these pipelines is to give you data, this overview right here. How much volume is hanging out in my Cultivate, and what's the average amount of time that my transaction stays in the Cultivate period? How much volume is hanging out in my appointments? What's the average amount of time that they spend here, right? Over here are your totals. Potential income. If everything closed for 100% of listing price, that is how much money I would gross from what's in my pipeline currently. Probable income. For each one of these phases, there's a different percentage probability that it will close. 5% in Cultivate, 10% in listing. It goes up and up and up as you move it through the pipeline. So the probable income means as of today, how much money do I stand to make out of this pipeline, reasonably speaking? Okay. Same thing with your buyers. The purple pipeline is for leases. If you're crazy enough to want to handle property management, you got a whole pipeline to do it there, like our wonderful broker in charge, Stephen, in the Winston-Salem office. I have one rental property. That is quite enough for me, to handle. So if you're like me and you don't need an entire pipeline for leases, you can use this pipeline for anything else you could want to use it for. Maybe you have a staging business. Maybe you want to work really, really heavily in referrals. Maybe you want to use it to manage profit share, right? If you're going to be really intentional in profit share, then you might want to use the pipeline for that. That's a great question that Chrissy asked me in the chat. Chrissy is a wonderful admin that has joined us for Miss Roy Determines team. Chrissy, if I need to look at how you're set up first, and more than likely the easiest way for you is going to be to add everything in your Rainmakers account. But we can definitely sidebar about that. I just need to see how your command is set up first. Okay. All right. So then down at the very bottom here, we have all of our summary, right? How many listings do I have going on? How many buyers do I have hanging out in the pipeline? How many leases? Activity trend line here. I can switch. We are a company of tracking and numbers. This is a great and easy way for you to do this because you have to put your opportunities in here because this is how we check them, right? So this is one of those pieces, this you have to do it in the system, right? I told you we have to add our contacts in order to do our transaction. And those are the only things you have to do in this system. But if you got to do it anyway, you might as well use it to your benefit so you can track your numbers. And then at the bottom, we have a list of what's closing this month. Okay. So that's kind of your overview of opportunities. I will pop into the discussions for the purposes of anybody that is on a team and or watching this video that is on a team. You can actually be in your opportunity. I have to be under my team account. And I can say, we use our team account to manage agents. I'm trying to find one of my fake ones. Hold on, bear with me. So we manage all the paperwork. Oh, there's Candy. All right, so that's a fake one. Here we go. So Candy is on the team. Candy can come in here and say, I need to create a discussion. and I need to @ our assistant, can you please call the seller to get a list of utility information? Send. Right? So you can have a whole discussion with your teammates in the opportunity, and that is to that specific opportunity. So I just wanted to touch on what discussions are and how you can use those. Any questions on discussions? Good. Cool deal. Okay. So again, I have that checklist in there for you guys. It's a very simple copy and paste, right? You pull up the checklist, push it to one side of your screen, pull up command. That's the wrong window, Monica. Hold on. Let me try this again. I have too much stuff open. Whoop. There we go. So this is all there for you. It doesn't mean it's the only thing you'll ever add to your checklist, right? But hopefully it's a good start for you. So you go to edit stages, checklist, we're under preparation. So you just add item, copy, paste, save. Then you can keep going, moving on, right? And you can choose whether it's a client update or not, right there. So that's about it for the overview of opportunities and what's within the opportunities pipeline. Does anybody have any questions on this? What is available for you to do? I just wanted to get this piece out of the way, and then we're going to move into actually facilitating a transaction. Ready? Good? Okay. I'm going to give you guys a 3-minute break. Stretch your back, get yourself a cup of coffee. We're going to take our time. We're going to walk through this so that you guys know how to do it. I will set a 5-minute timer and we will come back. See you guys in just a minute. I'm going to pause this recording. Okay. So everybody take a breath. I know that this is going to seem like a lot, and I promise you, talk to some other agents that have joined within the last year or so. After you've done this a few times, it just becomes inherent and second nature to you. So it seems like a lot of steps, and once you get into it and you get used to doing it, I promise you it's not that bad. Okay. So I'm going to reference back to kwtriadtech.com, my website. You got a lot of references here and resources. Okay. Down below my spotlighted video, there's a button that says downloadable resources. If you come here, and it doesn't matter which market center you're in, there's a path to get paid that has pictures on it. Okay. So if you're a visual person, print this out, keep it with you, hang it above your desk, whatever you need. This is a workflow. People pay millions of dollars for workflow, and we have one built into our system. So the most important thing is to follow the workflow. If you come out of order, that's when you get stuff that's not connected correctly, and I can help you fix it. But if you just start the right way, it's a lot easier for you in the end. Okay. So this is always your path. First, add your opportunity, add your contact to command. First thing, if you're getting electronic signatures, at minimum, you need to have your contact's name and email address added to command. That's always your first step. Okay. Second, when they decide to buy, sell, or invest in real estate, you create an opportunity for them. If it is a listing, it is going to default to client first name, last name, dash listing. If it's your listing, you know what the address is already. So please go ahead and retitle it to be listing 123 Main Street, for client name, because that will make it easier for your Market Center administrator to be able to pay you at the end of the transaction if they can actually find it by the address. Okay. If it's a buyer, client's name dash buyer is okay. Once you get an address, come back and add it into the title. Okay. Once you've done that, we're going to start there so that we can see what this looks like. Okay. All right. If you want really detailed instructions, highlighted here on the left, updated contract to close workflow. These are for, I have a lot of people that ask me for printable directions on stuff, so I've made you one. It shows you pictures, shows you all the steps, very expanded, shows you where to click, what to click, all the things. Okay. So these are both there for you under your downloadable resources on my website. Just want to make sure you guys know that that's there. Okay. So we have two ways that we can start an opportunity. If I meet somebody or they're like, you know, my friend, and they're like, yeah, I want to sell my house or I want to buy a house. First of all, drop in the chat. Would you guys rather see me do a listing or buyer? Whoever drops the most wins. So pop into your chat, type listing or type buyer. Buyer, buyer. Ooh, buyer, buyer, buyer. Okay, buyer. We're going with buyer first. If we have time to look at a listing, we will. Okay. So again, you have two ways to do it. When you're adding your contact, hopefully the internet will play nicely with us today. I don't know if the ice is affecting it or what's happening here. Here we go. So if I've added my contact already, over here where I have all my actions I can do, opportunities is one of those. So if I know out of the gate that this person's going to go, I can add the contact, and right there in the contact card, I can click create opportunity and get this pop up. If I've added my sphere of influence into my database and I'm talking to them like we talked about yesterday, and then they call me to tell me that they want to buy a house, I can go straight into the opportunities handshake instead of taking the time to search through the contacts, and I can create an opportunity. I'm going to get the same pop-up window. So it doesn't matter which way you do it, whether you start from the contact card or you start from the opportunities applet, you're going to get the same pop-up that looks like this. Okay. I'm in 2 market centers. You probably are not. So you won't have to make that selection there. Remember, if you're on a team, you need to move the contact over to the team side of command. We looked at that yesterday. You're in the contact, click the 3 dots, switch to team account. You maintain ownership of the contact. You're just able to facilitate your transaction under your team. Okay. So the first thing you do is pick your opportunity type. Is it a listing or a buyer? We voted buyer. Okay. Client. Start typing their name. And there he is. If you are 100% sure that you have already added your contact, you begin typing their name and they don't show up, you're either making your opportunity on the wrong side. If you're on a team, you're trying to make it on the individual side, or you added your client to your personal side and haven't moved them to the team. I get a lot of those phone calls. I'm making my opportunity and my client's not showing up, but I know that they're in my database. So that is the only reason that your client's name would not show up if you're certain that you've already added them. Okay, so I'm going to do Dakota Perry. I have a contact connected to Dakota Perry. So if I click in co-buyer, it is automatically going to say, do you want Sasha Perry to be the co-buyer? Because I have their contacts connected. Okay. Now, remember, 1 to buy, 2 to sell. If the second person doesn't need to be on the documents or isn't supposed to be on the documents, don't put them on the documents. And for the sake of time today and signatures, I'm just going to go 1 client. Okay. So you will see it defaulted to client number 1 - buyer. If I already know that he's going to buy 123 Main Street, then I could rename it from right now. But if it's a buyer and you haven't even started looking at properties yet, you might not know the name of the property yet, or the address of the property. Going to name this so we know what it is. Custom tags within an opportunity. We looked at tags for contacts. You also have custom tags in opportunity. And the way that I looked at this, you can do whatever you want in your business. The way I looked at it is I want to know what year, and I don't have a year yet. I don't have 2022 added. So I'm going to go ahead and add 2022, because that way I can easily pull up everything I closed in 2022. Okay. That's just my personal, one of my tags that I would want to have. I also like knowing, how did I get this piece of business? Was it a referral? Was it a Facebook lead? Was it from my sphere? Was it from Business Networking International? Where did I get it? So maybe this was a referral of a friend, family, or coworker. Okay. And some other ones that I have that you probably wouldn't add from the beginning. My favorite insurance person, home inspector, lender, and closing attorney. So if my people are using them and I want to be able to see at a glance, this is closing with Randall. Bill at Fairway did the loan. Drew at Home Team's doing the home inspection. Matthew Young is handling their insurance. Then I can do that. You might not know that right out of the gate. Probably something you would add later on, right? But maybe I do already know that Bill's handling their loan. So I can go ahead and add that. Estimated closing date. There's no red asterisks here, right? No red asterisks. So I don't have to add it. But this pipeline that you see in the background, if you're not giving it dates, then it doesn't, the system can't learn how long stuff is hanging out, right? So I can go ahead and say, you know, I know that they want to be in this house by the 25th of February, right? They're moving quick. They want to move within a month for time frame. Again, don't have to add it. There's no red asterisks, but it's good for you to know it as you're looking at an overview. Especially you're like, well, when I'm first getting started, I'm going to have like one buyer at a time. Yes. And as your business grows, you could be working with 15 buyers at one time. So it's good to go ahead and establish your systems ahead of time before you get yourself to that point, because then it's just clockwork. You're used to doing it, right? If you learn a habit over time, it becomes natural. Okay. Budget, again, not required, still a good idea. And when you're looking at budget, it is not a range. It's not, they're going to do 300 to 350,000. It's they're going to do 350,000, right? Is max. Okay. Commission rate is required, and it is only your half of the commission. So not total, not 6%, your half. Probably going to be 3%. Okay. Opportunity phase and stage. These are what we looked at. The phases are the unchanging, cultivate, appointment, active is as far as you can take it upon creation. You can't start it under contract. Okay. So if I choose active, are we searching? Are we already out looking at houses? Or did we find one and we're about to make an offer? Like, where are we? Right. Please make sure that you are changing your phases at minimum. Your stages are less important to me, but if you leave this opportunity and cultivate, when your MCA goes to pay you, they can't find it. So even if you put that they were buying 123 Main Street, if you have it in cultivate and the MCA goes in to pay you and they search for 123 Main Street, it's not going to show up, because cultivate's for you. It's when you're working on the front end of getting somebody ready. So make sure that you change your phases. Okay. And a lot of people ask me, well, when should I create the opportunity? That's really up to you and your business. I heard a great speaker one time, major team, And his goal was to always have at least 100 people in Cultivate in both listing and buyer. He wanted to talk to so many people that he had at least 100 people in each one that said, yes, I'm going to list my house, or yes, I want to buy a house. It just might not be today. Right. So he put them in early. Even if they said, I'm going to buy in 6 months, he put them in the buyer pipeline. So he had that constant follow up with them. Right. Yes, I want to list my house, but I got to wait for my son to graduate, and that's not until May. Cool. He went ahead and put them in under Cultivate. Some people don't add them until they're about to have the transaction. Neither answer is wrong. It's just, what is your answer? So I can't give you a clear-cut answer of the best time to add it, right? Either way is okay. All right, so making sure we change that opportunity phase. Any questions in this piece on creating the opportunity? We're making sure that we pick the correct type. Once you pick the type, you can't change it. So if you accidentally picked listing, you're going to have to make a new opportunity. You can archive the old one. It's not going to hurt anything, but just you can't switch it once you've done it. Picking our client, making sure the client's on the right side, team or individual. Names, listing has the address. Buyer might not have it in the beginning, and that's okay. Good. All right. I'm going to go ahead and click create. Checking the chat. Good. Okay. Now we're in the opportunities details tab. So each opportunity has all this stuff in it. Okay, we've got all those tabs. Right now we're in details. The more details you give an artificially powered, intelligent powered system, the more stuff it's going to be able to give you back as the system learns and grows. I know most of you are iPhone users, more than likely, because that seems to always be the trend. I am not. I am an Android user. But if you had the first iPhone or maybe the second iPhone and you asked Siri questions, it was always like, I don't understand, right? When it was new, because it was learning. And that's where we are. And the more data that we give this, the more it's going to be able to grow and give us back. Okay. So in your opportunities details tab, yes, you can just be like, okay, good. I've put in what I need to put in. I'm done. Right. And if you want to help make yourself smarter about your business, go ahead and click this pin and say, okay, I met with Dakota. We scheduled his appointment last Thursday, and we had his appointment today. And I won the agreement today. He decided to sign his buyer agency agreement with me. And we are going to look at properties, and we're going to look into the future and pretend that we know what's happening. We're going to make an offer tomorrow. And our goal closing date is February 25th. Now this system is smart, because then it can say future. For every time you go on a buyer agency appointment, you actually get to go on the appointment 90% of the time. For every buyer agency appointment you go on, you get 80% of the buyers to sign the buyer agency agreement. For every buyer agency agreement you get signed, 85% of them go under contract. And for everyone that goes under contract, have whatever percentage closes, right? The system can't give you all those metrics in the future if you don't give it this data, right? So commission rate, finance type, are they going conventional, FHA, VA, USDA, etc.? Okay, so you can go ahead and add that stuff in. If we know what property they're making an offer on, we can go ahead and fill that in here, because the more that you fill in here, the more that is going to fill into DocuSign. Okay, and or a lot of this stuff does flow into Dotloop for anybody watching that uses Dotloop. It flows in there too. Okay, so he's going to make an offer on that one. Keller covered, you don't probably have this quite yet, so we'll save that conversation for later. Porch is a free repair estimate. And the way that we get it is because obviously they're going to recommend their providers that do roofs and all the other stuff. And those are the people that are paying porch money. So you don't, that's again, you don't have to use that. It is pretty cool, but you don't have to use it. So any questions on the details tab? Cool. So looking back at our path to get paid. Come on, load. We have added our contact. They decided to buy or sell. We created an opportunity. Now it's time to go to documents. Okay. Documents tab. The buyer profile tab, just because it's here and I don't want you to not see it, shows if they're registered with your consumer platform. That means that they have an account on your website or your app. That's all that tab is for. I would really prefer it be over there instead of right here in between, but that's okay. Documents tab. This is the big one. The very first thing that you want to do when you're in your documents tab is, let me close this. Let me close that. Is to pick a checklist type. So we've added our contact, we created our opportunity, we went into our documents tab in our opportunity. We're going to come over to the left and we are going to say, this person is buying a residential home, a piece of vacant land, a new construction, or a commercial property. Which one are they buying? This is the Winston-Salem checklist. Greensboro's are similar, but not exactly the same. Okay, so you got to pick which one it is. I have gone through and added these little DS chips next to documents that are required on every transaction for you guys, which means if you start your transaction in DocuSign, those documents are going to automatically go into the DocuSign room so that you don't have to look for it. Dotloop users, my apologies, I cannot do that for you, so you will just need to manually add the documents when you get into Dotloop. Okay, so anything that's got this DS next to it is going to automatically show up in DocuSign. So I'm going to really talk about what this is right here. This is your checklist. This is your checklist of documents that you need to turn into the Market Center. Okay. The Working with Real Estate Agents brochure is required. Hover over the I. Please upload the executed Working with Real Estate Agents form here. Where's here? Right here. You can browse and pull it in from your computer. If you got it signed in ink, scan it, upload it. If you have it signed in DocuSign, we're going to be able to add it from DocuSign here in a minute. So this is your checklist. This is where you turn documents into the Market Center. This is everything except for where you get the actual signatures completed. If you're a DocuSign user, I'm not going to give you a date, but eventually we may be able to go ahead and just get stuff signed from here directly, but that partnership will be with DocuSign. Okay. So right now we are in a buyer opportunity for a residential transaction under the consultation folder. So I met with Dakota today. I took my Working with Real Estate Agents and my buyer agency agreement with me, and or we met and he said, yes, I'll sign it. So I'm coming back to my desk now to send them for signatures. That's where we're hanging out right now under consultation. If I just wanted to print these out, if it's underlined, that means that I have uploaded it for you. And I've done that in both Market Centers. So if you just want to print a form out real quick, if it's underlined, you can click it and there it is. There's a print button right there. You can send it straight off to your printer. So if you want a hard copy to have with you, that's an easy way to print it. I get asked that quite a lot. There are multiple places for us to find our documents, multiple places as agents. I try to give you as many options as possible, and this is one. So again, if it's underlined, buyer agency agreement, I can click it. It means I have uploaded that document there for you so that you can print it out if you need one on the fly. Okay. Under contract, these are going to be the documents you need to turn in when your buyer goes under contract. Per the North Carolina Real Estate Commission, not Keller Williams, this is a North Carolina Real Estate Commission rule. Within 72 hours of signature of a document, your broker in charge needs to have access to it. Okay. If you upload it here, even if you don't turn it in yet, we have access to it. So that alleviates that rule. Okay. But you can see offer to purchase and contract has the DocuSign chip. For Winston-Salem, your affiliated business disclosure has the chip. Those all have the chip next to them. So they're going to automatically show up in DocuSign because you need them on every single transaction. For instance, in the listing side, I didn't make you have to have the lead-based paint because you're not always going to have lead-based paint, right? It's going to be, sometimes you will, sometimes you won't. So just so you know. And there are some things that are required and there are some things that are conditional, right? FHA VA financing addendum, hover over the I. If there was an FHA VA loan, you need the FHA VA financing addendum and you need to turn it in. If it was an FHA, this one's not. This one was conventional, right? We don't need it. So it gives you instruction on what is needed and why. Okay. Unrepresented seller, that would be for sale by owner, right? You're not really representing them. You just brought them a buyer. So then you would need to turn that form in. Okay. And then enclosed, these are the things that you would need for the closing. So best practice is to turn this in as you go. Don't wait until closing day and then turn all your documents in for somebody to check them, because what if something is wrong? We are human. We make mistakes. We miss signatures. We might accidentally pull in the wrong form. I've seen some people accidentally pull a vacant land offer to purchase instead of the residential. That's wrong. Now you got to go back and get your client to re-sign it after the fact. You don't want to do that. So go ahead and turn your stuff in as you go. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody understood what this is. It is the place where you can print out a form if it's underlined. It's the place where you're looking at what's required of you to turn in. It's the place where you actually upload your documents to turn them in. The e-signature platforms are for nothing but signing. That's their only function. They have a lot of functionality in them, and some companies might use that functionality. We do not. This is where you turn your stuff in. Okay. You can also add a comment here. So if you're like, I don't know what I'm doing, you can @ your broker in charge, both offices, Stephen in Winston-Salem, Crystal and Bill in Greensboro, right? You can @ your MCA, your team leader. I would show up here. It's just that I'm in the account. If you were in your account, I would show up here and you would be able to @ me and say, I'm just going to pick on Stephen and say, hey, I just want to make sure I have my documents right. Right. And you can send it and Stephen will get dinged and he can answer you. Okay. So that's what this add a comment button's for. If I get asked this a lot, what if I used more than one agreement to amend the contract? Maybe I had to amend it multiple times and there's only one placeholder for the agreement to amend. These 3 dots right here give you the ability to add an additional document, and you can name it and say, you know, it's an additional 4-T. It's an amendment, you know, price change, whatever it was for. And then you can choose where you're getting it from. You can upload an additional document there. So the placeholders are meant to be there as a guide for you. It doesn't mean you can't add an additional document. But if it's not required of you to turn it in, don't turn it in. Because then they have to check it. Once they see it, they have to check it. So if it's wrong or if it's not signed, they're going to have to return it to you. It's just the way it is. If you turn it in and you didn't have to, we still have to check it. Okay. If you have stuff you want to keep, pre-approval letter, right? We don't need to see that. We don't need to check it, but you want to keep it for your records. You have custom folders. So you can say like buyer, lender, forms, or whatever. You could even make it private if you needed to. And you can create that additional folder. You can upload your pre-approvals, upload your appraisal, which we also don't need to check, right? But all that stuff that you would want to keep as an agent, but that we don't need to review it, you can put it in your custom folders. Okay. So any questions about this screen or what it's for or what it means? Very good. Okay. So we're going to get back on track. We've added our contact. We've started our opportunity. We have picked our checklist type, right? We picked our checklist type. We are now going to click start a transaction. We're following the path. Start a transaction. It's right here. Okay. If you're a DocuSign user, you're going to have DocuSign. If you're a Dotloop user, you're going to pick Dotloop. Today, we're looking at DocuSign. For those that joined late, if you have Dotloop questions, once we finish this example, please feel free to hang out and we can look at it. Okay. So I'm going to pick DocuSign. DocuSign is going to open in another window. If DocuSign does not open in another window, you have pop-up blockers enabled and they're stopping it from opening. So more than likely up here in your URL bar over here on the right-hand side, you're going to see a little red X on top of a little graphic. And if you click it, that will disable your pop-up blocker so that DocuSign will open. Okay. See it happen on Macs a lot, just so you know. All right. So it took me straight to DocuSign. I'm going to click continue. It's going to let me log in. All those forms that had that DS are in the room. This DocuSign room, Dakota Perry Buyer Bootcamp, January 2022. Command, Dakota Perry Buyer Bootcamp, January 2022. They are connected. They are linked together. Okay. So everything is done in here except for signatures, which are done in DocuSign. Any questions on that? And so that's why it's important to start in Command. If you don't start in Command and you go straight to DocuSign, you can't connect them later. I can help you move the forms and do all kinds of stuff to make it work for you. But the easiest way is to follow the path. Okay. So these are now connected. If I go into the details tab of this DocuSign room, which is what it's called, you will see a lot of stuff from Command came over. It knows I'm making an offer on 600 Quarterstaff Road and its address. Over here on the right, I'm not representing the seller, so that stuff is not there, nor am I the listing agent, so that stuff is not there. But this is my buyer, and that is his info. And I am the buyer's agent, and that is my info, right? That came over from Command. Okay. So Documents tab. This is the main tab where we're working in our documents. You can set up templates in DocuSign. It's going to be a separate class. We're not going to go there today because it'll take too much time. There are videos on it on my YouTube channel, but I've already set up a template for my exclusive buyer agency. So I can right click here, apply my form template, and pick whichever one I'm using and apply. So now some of the details from the details tab filled in, plus the stuff that I had in my template just filled into this exclusive buyer agency agreement. So that is how you apply templates when you get into DocuSign. So if you hear about templates later, that's where you add them. Okay. So we've added our contact, created our opportunity, picked our checklist type, and started a transaction in DocuSign. We're under the Documents tab in DocuSign. From the Documents tab, we only fill in text. This is not where we get signatures. We're just going to open up the Working with Real Estate Agents. I clicked on the form itself. It's going to open up the form. And I'm going to say, okay, this is what could happen. What could happen for the buyer, not what is happening, is what has been explained to me by a broker in charge. So if it could happen, check all relationship types below that may apply to this buyer. I'm more than likely going to be handling buyer agency, and it could go dual agency if we look at one from my office, and it could go to designated agency if they do pick a listing that's from my office and my buyer says, I don't want you representing both me and the seller. I want you designated as me only. Then it could go into designated dual agency. If you allow unrepresented buyers, this is like if you're at an open house, we're really supposed to be giving people the Working with Real Estate Agents. The agent who gave you this form may assist you in your purchase, but will not be representing you and has no loyalty to you. The agent will represent the seller. Because if you're in an open house for our firm, even if it's not your listing, you would be representing the seller unless you got a buyer agency agreement signed. So is that potential with this buyer? Maybe. I don't know. That's up to whatever's happening. But all of these are definitely a possibility. Okay. So, I mean, I guess you can just check it to be safe. All right. You see my stuff already filled in. The property already filled in because we had it in the details. But we're not getting signatures. There's no way to click on this or anything. We're just filling in the text. So if you're taking notes, Forms tab, or Documents tab, my apologies, the Documents tab equals text entry. That's it. So I'm going to open this exclusive buyer agency agreement. Okay. And you're going to see my client's name is there. My firm name is there. I need to put in today's date if we're getting it signed today. Right. From my template, I already had residential checked off on my template because 99% of the time I was doing residential, right? What's the general location? I usually do Forsyth County, Davie County, Davidson County, and sometimes Stokes. I really didn't go outside of that. Yours may look completely different from mine, and that's okay, right? So you're just going to go through and fill this out. My buyer intends to purchase a single property, and this agreement is going to expire on 06/30/2022 for me, right? So you get the point. I'm not going to fill out the entire agreement, but you're going to go through and fill in all the text. Okay, a lot of stuff was filled in from my template anyway, like all these check boxes, the NA right there, right? Dual agency compensation, need to fill that in. Cool thing about the template, all this stuff was already there, so I didn't have to type it, which is great for me because I don't like having to type all that stuff. So I've done all of my text. I'm going to save it and close it. Documents, text. Okay, so now let's get something signed. I'm going to take these two forms and click the check box. When I have nothing checked, I lose that toolbar. As soon as I say I want to get this and this, I get this toolbar, which has a pin. That means you want to get signed. So the Envelopes tab equals where we get signatures. Okay. All right. So we have now created an envelope where we're going to get stuff signed. Always rename your envelope. Buyer agency and working with real estate agents is what's in here. If I want to reorder these forms, which I do because I have slight OCD about my forms, in Command, the way that I need to turn it in is working with real estate agents and buyer agency agreement. So in DocuSign, I would like for it to be working with real estate agents and buyer agency agreement, but DocuSign is formatted alphabetically, which makes it go backwards. So in the envelope is the only place that you can reorder, and you can do that by dragging. Boop. You can drag them back and forth. If it doesn't bother you, then that's fine, right? I just want to let you guys know it's there. This part is very important. If you're taking notes, star it, highlight it, underline it, make it all capitals, whatever you need to do to make sure that you see it. When you're adding recipients to your envelope, remember when we were in the details tab, it said Dakota was buyer 1 and I was the buyer's agent. When I'm adding recipients, I want to add them from pre-tagged roles. Not room participants, not by email address, pre-tagged roles. Okay. Who is signing this form? Only the people that are signing need to be added. So if it's an offer, there are spaces for the listing agent to sign. There are spaces for the sellers to sign. I'm not representing any of those people, so I would not need to add them. I only need to add who is signing my documents right now. Buyer 1 is signing, and buyer 1 is Dakota, so I'm going to pick him. The buyer agent is signing, and the buyer agent is me, so I'm going to pick myself. Okay, those are the people that are taking action on these forms. I'm going to click Add Selected. Buyer 1's Dakota, buyer agent's Monica. I've added the people that need to sign. So again, adding recipients from pre-tagged roles. If you don't add your recipients from pre-tagged roles, you're going to have to drag and drop all the initials and signatures and dates and all that stuff in the next step. And nobody has time for that. It takes forever. We used to have to do it. You don't have to do it anymore, so don't make yourself, because it's a headache. Okay. Questions? Checking the chat. Okay. Write a happy little message down here at the bottom. So excited to make this offer for you, Dakota. Yay. Right. Little email message. Click next. So now, since I did use pre-tagged roles, when we get to this next step.
Monica, can I ask you a question?
Please.
What did you say about, I saw you put buyer 1, but what did you say about buyer 2?
I mean, if you had a buyer 2, you would add them.
Oh, okay. Okay, gotcha.
Right. I'm just working with one single buyer right now.
Okay.
Good question. Anybody else? We good? Okay. So now we are in what's called the envelope preview. Okay. Right now, we have the working with real estate agent showing up. I don't sign that as the agent. So in the little preview pane over here, there's only one tag and it's blue because Dakota Perry is the buyer and his color is blue. Preview, form itself. His signature and date have already been placed there for me. Okay. If I expand this preview, 2 tags, because I am gold, right? And I have to sign the buyer agency agreement. So if I move my way down the buyer agency agreement, we both need to sign it, and both of our signatures are there. If you had not used pre-tagged roles, guess what you'd be doing? Dragging, switching, dragging, switching, moving, dragging, switching. Not fun. Don't do it. Use pre-tagged roles. Okay. All right. So page 2, we're there. Page 3, we're there. Page 4 of the buyer agency agreement in your notes, and page 11 of the exclusive right to sell listing agreement. Prior to sending these, you need to take action, because I'm going to show you what this looks like from the eyes of the buyer as it stands. See how these are solid initials and these are hollow? That's because these initials are required and these initials are not, right? Because hopefully we've had a conversation with our buyer that our 2 offices list more properties in the entire Triad MLS than anyone else. And there's a high likelihood that you may be going to see a property listed by our office. If that is the case, I want to make sure that I can make the offer for you on that property. So I need you to let me act as a dual agent, right? So hopefully we've already had that conversation. If we leave this the way it is right now, the cool thing is we have this button up here that says recipient preview. Okay. If I click, this is Dakota. I'm looking at it like this is what it would look like if my buyer got it in their email. Okay. If he hits start, he's like, okay, I got to sign. Okay. Here's page 1, buyer agency agreement, sign. Took me straight to the bottom of page 2 to my next required initial. I'm going to sign it. Bottom of page 3. Now, depending on your client, right? If this was Monica signing it, I'm going to go click, 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 click. And you got it back, right? You're going to have some people that read through every single line of text. But nonetheless, if they click start or if they click initial on the bottom of page 3, watch what happens. Took them right over the top of those optional initials. I am not going to see those initials. A fast moving person is not going to see it. We're going to sign here and we're going to keep going. You're going to get it back. You're going to have to send it back to me because I missed something, right? Or if you have somebody who's reading through every single piece of it, they're going to go, authorize the firm to act as a dual agent. I don't know what that means. Do I desire exclusive representation? Yep. So what if they did this and then they sent it back to you and then they wanted to go see a listing by an agent in your office? Guess what? They can't. Right? So it's good to go ahead and have the conversation before you send them the document. I'm going to come out of the preview. Hopefully they said dual agency is okay. You're going to click that one. You're going to come over to the right and make it required. I don't need these. They're extraneous and they're confusing. So I'm going to delete them. Now let's go back to the recipient preview. Now Dakota opens his email and clicks start. He goes, okay, sign, sign, sign. Page 3, sign, boop, straight to that initial, sign, 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 done. Right? So you can see how that would cause much less confusion, right? So just a little extra step to take. Page 4, buyer agency. Page 11, listing agreement. There's a couple of other places on the listing agreement, like are they going to let it be an office exclusive listing? I don't like doing that personally, but everybody's business is their own business. So you can either delete it or make it required. But anytime you see those optional initials, think before you send, because you could make them sign something incorrectly and then you have to fix it, and nobody wants to do that. Okay. Questions about that? Otherwise, this stuff's ready to go. All the stuff's there. Initials are there. We handled our text in our documents tab. We use pre-tagged roles. We're sending this off. Okay. It's going to default me back to this envelope, which now says it what? Needs my signatures, because I had a buyer agency agreement in here and I need to sign it. So I can click on that and click sign. And I'm going to click continue. I don't sign working with real estate agents as the real estate agent. Start. It's going to take me right to my initials. Boom, 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 boom. Sign, done, finish. So that's what you would do as the agent, right? Pull this over. Here's Dakota's email. Simultaneously of me signing, Dakota got an email that said, please DocuSign. Okay. If I typed him a message, it would say, Dakota Perry, so excited to make this offer for you. Please DocuSign these two things, right? So this is what your client's going to see. Cool. They're going to click review documents. They are going to click continue. If they've never used DocuSign before, they're going to hit start. And when they click this first signature, it's going to ask them to pick and adopt signatures. So they'll have an option to pick different fonts, or they have an option to write their own. Like, they have options there, but I've used this a bunch of times, so I didn't generate that message. But just so you know, if they ask, they will see something that says that. So he's going to go through and sign everything. Click, 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 click. He's going to click finish. And now my working with real estate agents and my buyer agency agreement is signed by both of us. It is going to ask your client if they want to create an account. Okay. It is going to send your client, refresh this email, a copy, right? So that's the client's email. So as soon as you've both signed, he gets a copy in his email that's fully executed, right? So you don't have to worry about sending an additional email later. Somebody asked me that the other day. No, they get it immediately with all the signatures already done. Cool. All right. So now I've got to reopen DocuSign because I logged in from 2 different accounts. So it's probably going to time me out of my actual account. Hold on one sec. It might not. Okay, it didn't. So now my envelope is complete. It's green, right? I did what I was supposed to do. Under the Documents tab, I now have 2 versions. I have my original form version of my exclusive buyer agency agreement, and I now have a signed copy. I have my original form in the corner version of working with real estate agents and my signed copy. So a question that I get a lot is, we made an offer, we turned it in, they countered us. What do I do? Okay, so I want to make sure I address that question. Once it is signed, you can't change it, but you can take the signed copy, create an envelope, drag and drop strike boxes and signatures and all that kind of stuff. I don't personally like strike throughs. Some agents are fine with it. They're legal. I just don't like them. But what you can do is take the original offer, which will still have all of your, I just picked the wrong one. Hold on. Which will still have all of your stuff filled in. We're going to pretend this buyer agency is an offer. It would still have all your text there, right? You would just need to make the adjustments. Maybe you had to go up in price $5,000 to get the seller to agree or whatever. You could just make whatever change you needed to make on that form and save it and then resend it for signatures. You saw how fast it was to sign. I'm sending you a fresh copy of the offer with the price adjustment made for the seller. So you can always come back to that original form. You can edit whatever you need to edit and send it for fresh signatures. Okay. I do get that question quite a bit. So any questions about what we did in DocuSign? I know it sounds like a lot as we're explaining it, but I'm serious. I can do this like it's nothing, right? It's just a matter of doing it repetitiously. Okay. So we're going to pop back. Go ahead.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So what if you have the working with real estate agents and they select all 4 of the fields?
That's okay. All that is just a disclosure. this could happen,
Okay.
right?
So you're but you are representing them, not the seller.
Correct.
You
Yeah.
check all
All
that.
this is, this form is not a contract. Signing this disclosure only means that you received it. In a real estate transaction, it's important you understand whether an agent represents you, right? It's just
Right.
disclosure. These could happen. So
Okay.
if you're at an open house and you get this signed with somebody and they check this and they say, well, I don't really want you to represent me. I just want to write the offer. Okay. Then you are representing the seller and they're an unrepresented buyer. That could happen. Or you could meet them at the open house and they could say, yeah, I really like this house. Is this your listing? And you could be like, no, I'm doing it for another agent in my office. Great. Well, can you help me? And you're like, yes, let's go ahead and sign buyer agency. So that could happen, right?
Mhm.
Or if that was our listing, then it would be dual agency. So that could happen. Or if it is your listing and they're like, well, you're really nice and everything, but it's your listing and I want to buy it, but I don't want to work with you because you're representing the seller, then we can designate an agent in our office. So then designated agency could happen. So all this is a disclosure of what could happen.
Okay.
Good?
Monica,
Yep.
on Stephen's Facebook,
Mhm.
Notorious Big,
Yeah.
he's talked about that recently, and he says to check all of them,
Uh-huh.
but he gives a really good explanation of why you would do that. So
Good. Exactly. Yep. Stephen, I do know our forms, and Stephen is your broker in charge in Winston-Salem. So super duper specific form questions, I will always route you in his direction. The Notorious BIC page is a very good place to look for stuff like that. He explains a whole lot of stuff. Right. Great comment, Jean. All right, everybody cool? Good? So where are we at? We entered our contact, created our opportunity, went to the documents tab, we picked a checklist type, we started our transaction in DocuSign, right? You can also use Dotloop and zip forms and all the other ones. You can print them out and get them signed in ink. Some people are like, I don't want to do electronic signatures. That's fine. Print them out, right? Nothing wrong with that. What's next? Step 4, adding our documents to submit to the Market Center for compliance review. Again, the 72 hours is North Carolina Real Estate Commission, not us being jerks. Okay. So that's where we are. We got our stuff signed. We started from command. So our command is linked to that DocuSign room. So now before, remember, I could only upload stuff from my computer. Now I have the option to attach my files from DocuSign. If you had done it in Dotloop, you would have the option to attach it from Dotloop. Okay. You do have to select a working folder because here, some agents love to build folders, like super organized people. I get it. I'm a folder builder in here. So you can build folders, especially with buyers that have to make offers on multiple properties before they get one accepted. This was our offer on 123 Main Street. This was our offer on 567 Maple. This was our offer on this property. They have folders built out in here. So you do have to select a folder. Right now, we only have one. So it's my room docs, right? Working with real estate agents. Drop down. Oh, hold on. Let me refresh. It's not picking up the signed copy yet. Refresh. There we go. There we go. There's a working with real estate agents disclosure that has been signed. Boop. Now it's where it belongs. Here's my buyer agency agreement that has been signed. Boop. Now it's where it belongs. Now there's a button that says submit to MC, submit to the Market Center. So I could push that button. It's going to say, are you sure you want to submit this for review? Avoid a delay in approval by ensuring all attached documents are accurate. Contact your Market Center if you have questions. And you're like, yeah, I'm good. And I'm going to click submit. Okay. And that would turn it in. but I don't want to do that to our compliance officers. So let me find this other one,
I have a question really quick.
please.
So I know a lot of times with buyers, you want to give them the working with real estate agents form like for substantial contact, but sometimes it might take a while to get that buyer agent agreement
Yep.
signed if they want to think about it. As far as the 72 hours goes, do they look at that as far as like when you upload it into Command or when you submit it to
Yeah,
MC?
that's what I was saying. Like, if it's in there, technically we do have access to it. So if
Okay,
you
I just want to double
uploaded
check.
it there, but you didn't have buyer agency yet,
Mm-hmm.
technically I can go in there as your market center tech trainer and I can find that document. So we do have access.
Okay,
Compliance would prefer that you have both of them to turn in, right? So that's a great
Right.
question. So just wait until you have them both in there.
perfect. Thank you.
Welcome. Hold on, let me find this. Okay, so once you turn it in, let me share both things with you. Okay, so if I had turned it in, it would say I had submitted it. Right now it says it was uploaded. If I had turned it in, it would say it was submitted. And if something got returned, I would get an email like this that says compliance folder was returned. I would also get dinged in the Command app. Okay. And then from the email, I can just go, okay, let me see what's up. It's going to take me straight into the opportunity, straight to my documents tab for that specific opportunity. And I can be like, what happened? Okay, this got returned. Why did it get returned? And I can go through and look and see why, because this has a little text box. It's just a test rejection, right? It would tell you, you missed the initials on page 2. You've got the wrong address in there. Maybe if you'd had to make multiple offers on something, you forgot to change the address or something. So it'll tell you why was it returned? Okay. And so then you'll click the 3 dots and you'll have to update the form and you'll have to upload the corrected version to there. I missed the initials. I'm just trying to come up with some random idea on page 2. And now I need to upload the new form. I'm just going to grab a random form like so. And then I would click update. Now I've updated it. It changed everything to purple. It's got my comment. I missed the initials, so I'm resubmitting. And then I would resubmit to the Market Center my fixed form, right? And then they would have a chance to review it. So that's kind of how that flows, just so you guys know what it looks like. Okay. And so let me move back to the one that we were working on active. And I had him under searching, I think. Yes. Okay. So now we'll pretend these were turned in. And now we're going to look at properties and we make an offer. And then I'm like, okay, now I've got to turn in all these documents. So I need to get the MLS sheet, my offer to purchase, a page 15 showing that everybody got the receipts, property disclosure, mineral oil and gas rights. These say conditional, most properties are going to have them, right? But it does happen. Foreclosures don't have them. They don't have to. So that's why those are made conditional. So really familiarize yourself with these checklists, right? Lead-based paint, if it was built prior to 78, right? So then you would move on to your under contract folder and start turning that stuff in. Hopefully you get that turned in well before your closing. Everything's all approved and green and beautiful. And then we get to closing day. All you have to do is turn in the MLS sheet showing that it closed. the closing disclosure you got with the attorney, your professional services disclosure, we wait until closing to turn that in because you could always add an additional service right before it closed for some reason. And if it was a referral, then you would need to upload that stuff. So the goal is turn it in along the way so that you don't have to fix stuff right at the last second. The better you get at turning in your documents and getting them approved, the easier it is for us to get you paid quickly. Right? Questions there?
Monica.
Mhm.
On the pro services disclosure. What did you just say about the timeline of when to turn it in?
It's not due until closing because
Okay.
professional services disclosure, this is a CYA form. If you don't know what CYA means, Google it because I'm not going to say it while I'm being recorded. It means cover your buttocks. Okay. People are very litigious now, right? They love to sue, suing everybody for everything, right? So you sell your person a home and they're like, I don't need to get a radon inspection. That's just an extra $150. I don't really care. Whatever. Right? Then in 3 years, they find out that they're getting sick and they have extremely high levels of radon in their basement. What's the first thing they're going to do? Sue you and say, hey, you didn't tell me I had to go get a radon inspection. Now I'm sick and you didn't tell me and it's your fault. Is it? Because right here, I recommended that you got a radon inspection and you initialed that you were waiving said radon inspection. And here in my notes, I put no radon inspection per buyer on 1/18/2022, and then you signed it. So I did tell you to get a radon inspection. My septic tank's messed up. Told you to get it inspected and you didn't. I've got termites. Told you to get a pest inspection and you didn't. You signed it right here, right? So that's what this form is for, but it can go like, the reason that we don't make you turn it in until closing is because like if you got the home inspection done and they said, you know, there's cracks in the foundation, we want it inspected, it needs, or the inspector said it recommended inspection by contracted foundation expert or whatever, and that person can't come out for 2 weeks and that makes it 2 days before closing, then you can't turn this in until you have it on here, right? That person came out. So that's why it's not due until the day of closing, because you could have like some re-inspections that needed to get done and stuff like that. Maybe the seller fixed whatever it was and the person couldn't come back out to check it out until 2 days before closing. So you want to add that as a re-inspection and have it signed off.
Where would you make your notation in command?
Which notation, honey?
If you're telling them or you're advising them that they need to get it done and they're refusing it, where would you make your
So
note at?
right here, see where it says they waived it
Mhm.
or they selected it? Who
Mhm.
ordered it, right? So if they came to you and said, I already talked to a lender, mortgage loan, I've already got my lender. They selected the lender, they ordered the lender. So the buyer ordered the lender, right? But then for the radon inspection, they selected it, you ordered it. So it was ordered by the agent. And then where it says name of service provider, if it was Drew Brinion that did my home inspection, right? Then I would put him here. If they declined this HVAC inspection, instead of putting the service provider there, I personally, this is how I did mine. And it's just a good tip for you guys. You're not putting anything in the name of service provider if they said no. So I always said no per buyer on this date. That was just a notation that I made for myself. And when they signed that they waived it, they're agreeing that they said no. Right?
Gotcha.
And then keep that form. That's why it's required. How long do we have to keep forms? 7 years. 7. My kids and I just took a bunch of boxes out of the attic and got to put them in the recycling bin because it had finally been 7 years. I was like, Lord have mercy, get these forms out of my house. Because it was bad. I didn't use, electronic signatures as much. So I had paper copies back then. Like we actually turned in paper copies and got them back, like signed by the broker in charge back then. So yeah, good times. Good times keeping all those forms. But yeah, great questions. Professional services disclosure, near and dear to my heart because people really, they will try to sue you for anything, seriously. Sad and true. So let's see. Where are we? I've opened 5 million windows now. So let's get some of that closed out. I'm going to show you guys a little bit more, but for your brain's sake, stop here. You got your stuff signed, you turned it in. They're going to approve it, they're going to reject it, they're going to tell you why, and then you're going to fix it if something's wrong. I just want to show you the last piece. But just remember, if you ever need help with any of this stuff, if it goes up to adding your documents, send me a text. If it gets to here, this is more of an MCA question. Carissa, Winston-Salem, Becca, and Donna in Greensboro for the commissions tab. But I do want to show you guys how that looks. So once you've got an accepted offer and you're moving into home inspections and all that kind of stuff, okay? If you look at this, you've submitted your documents. Now you're going to create an offer and accept it for both a listing and a buyer transaction, okay? So we've done our documents. We're going to move over to this offers and commissions tab. And I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to add an offer. We're making an offer on 600 Quarterstaff Road. Caps lock. There we go. Create offer. Okay. So we made the offer today. We're hoping to close by the 25th. Why are there a bunch of Z's showing up on your screen? I wanted to touch on this with you. My address is in Google. Remember we talked about yesterday that Google was powering all of our addresses? My address, 600 Quarterstaff Road, exists in Google. This house was built in 1963. It's here, right? So if I start typing 600 Quarterstaff Road, it's going to show up in Google. Boop, right there, and I could pick it, okay? If this is a new construction, because I get asked this question all the time. I can't add the address. I'm typing it and it's not showing up. Let me see if I can find it. I know I've got one somewhere nearby. Let me find that address. Hold on. I want to show you guys what I mean. I'm going to go into my phone. Come on. Let's see if this one works. Okay, so this was a new construction and this agent couldn't get it to pull up 1205 P-A-R-M-A-N. Okay, there's one. Okay, 1205 Barman Court, Summerfield, NC. See, it's trying to give me suggestions, but that address just doesn't exist in Google yet. It's not there. It's trying to give me Summerfield Lane, 1205 Court Road. It's just not there, right? But you need to add it. So when that won't work, if you just start typing these, usually, hold on, Let me try it again. Might have to go back because it was picking up the address that actually worked. If I just start typing out these, it's going to let me create manually. It's hard to get it because it's trying to help you. When you're typing a real address, it's like really trying to help you find it. But if it doesn't exist, then you just have to spam it by typing something, and Z's are super easy to hit. And then you get that create manually button, and you can start typing that address in for that new construction property. Okay. You can also select from KWLS. This is a test, so I didn't actually have a listing, right? So if it's an actual live listing, then you can just look it up in the KWLS, which is the Keller Williams listing system. And then you could select the house. Okay, that button, select. Then you could find it. Okay, but either way, you have to have a property address before you can move forward from this point. Cool deal? Any questions? And again, if you need help on this later, I just want to show you how it works. Okay, move forward with parties. There's red asterisks where you have to put stuff. This is a whole lot easier for buyers than it is for sellers. With sellers, I like to put a lot of info in there, especially if you have a listing that gets multiple offers. You can add the multiple offers into the system and generate a report for your seller that shows them a breakdown of each offer and the goods and bads. For a buyer, it's like, meh, who was the seller? It was the Smiths. Who was the associate? It knew it was me. This is pulling that one I pulled from the KWLS. When you pull from the KWLS, it'll know who the other associate is, right? But you have to have at least the associate name. So I'm going to use Jean because I see her name first. So Jean's the other agent on this. Her clients were the Smiths. My clients brought in from command. I am brought in from command. I move over to terms. Just throwing something in there. There we go. Terms. We got to have a sales price. So if it doesn't matter to you how much of it was cash and how much of it was financing, then I can just say we spent $350 and just put it all in finance. As long as I have that final sales price there, or if I did know, like, you know, we did $250 finance and $100,000 in cash, then I could put it in for the total sales price of $350. Danae, if you go to my website, kwtriadtech.com. So again, that's kwtriadtech.com like this. It's going to bring you to this website. And over on the left-hand side, January 2022 bootcamp videos can be found by clicking this blue button. Cool.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so we've added cash, we've added finance, we have a total sales price here, earnest money amount, how much was it? Option fee means due diligence, same verbiage. Termination option, due diligence period. It's just that not every state calls it due diligence, but that's what the termination option is. Buyer will give notice of termination within this many days after a contract. That's your due diligence period. Seller costs. Seller will contribute. You guys don't have to worry about that right now very much in this crazy market. But back when I was selling properties, we had to give stuff away when we were the listing agent. Yeah, we'll get you a home warranty. Absolutely, we will. Right? We just had to do stuff like that. So seller will contribute this much to a residential service contract. That means that they gave you a carpet allowance, or they gave you a painting allowance, or they agreed to buy you a home warranty. Settlement costs, actually closing costs, right? So if they agreed to give you $3,000 in closing costs, that's what would go in there. You don't see that very often right now. Then you move forward to agent analysis. Again, if this is you as the buyer, you don't need to fill any of this stuff in because you're just accepting the offer. But you have to get it to go through to this point right here. Okay. And then you want to click accept. And now you have a button that says manage commission. Okay. So this is the last step of your, right? We started a transaction, we added our documents, we turned them in, we're creating an offer and accepting it. There we go. Accepting it for all this stuff. We opened our commissions tab and we're going to complete our commissions tab. Okay, so that's where we are. So if you're an individual agent like I am, super easy. It's already done for me. All I have to do is hit submit. Right? If you're on a team, or if you have a question, or if this was a referral, or if it was you're splitting it with another agent, or if there's any other kind of discrepancy on what's going to happen with this money, send your MCA an email and say, hey, I'm to the point where I need to turn in my commission. I'm not exactly sure what I need to do for this referral to that agent in California, or whatever the thing is, right? You can ask. But this shows you the breakdown. The sales price was $350. The commission rate was 3%. That means total gross commission was $10,500 for a total of 1 unit. With this is the contract date. This is the closing date. This is the breakdown over here of what goes to the office, what goes to royalty, what I pocket, right? Shows you what it's doing to your cap. If that were to happen, if this were to close, and you're going to click submit. Cool. So I just wanted to show you kind of what that last step looked like. But again, don't ever hesitate to reach out if you have a question. Okay. In Winston, I'm not saying this for Greensboro, in Winston-Salem, if you turn your check in by 12 and you've done everything you were supposed to do, all of your documents are approved, you had already turned in your commissions tab ahead of time, you will get paid that day. Okay. I don't have a hard finite timeline for Greensboro. Cool deal? Questions, comments, concerns for the recording purposes, opportunities or Docusign? Ready? Good? Awesome. I hope that this helps you guys. Don't forget the recording is going to go up here in a little bit. I know it sounds like a lot, but one day if you want me to show you me doing this, actually, it takes me 15 minutes to send everything off. And you have to think we're doing everything at one time. I mean, reasonably speaking, if I sent my client some documents, it's not like they're sitting there at the computer ready to pounce on it, right? They might be at work or something, and it's like they're in your inbox, and then they're like, cool, I'll text you when I sign them later or whatever, right? It's just that we were showing all the steps at one time. Really, it's going to be done more piecemeal throughout. All right, cool deal, guys. If you have any questions, let me know. Best way to reach me is always by text. Let me know if I can help you. Thanks.